I mean, simple, beautiful. I've got a monster here, 13 pounds of brisket. I like to buy the whole brisket, trim it myself. I usually get a couple of pounds of meat that I can trim and cube for making stews, and the rest I can season, sear, slow cook in liquid, braise it in the oven, and then build the perfect beef torta. Shall we start trimming? And I'm gonna take about 4 inches off of this end. We're gonna deal with that in a second. I'll show you how to cube and trim those up. Take a cue from the most obvious clue in the room, which is the fat cap here. You can see how dense it is, and you can see where it gets denser. I wanna leave a 1/4 of an inch to 1/3 of an inch of fat, and I just like to use a nice long knife that I've choked up on. Just come across and remove the top, get it down to something that's manageable. You want to move your knife and feather away some of this very serious extraneous fat. Do not worry about exposing pieces of meat in your brisket. It is going to happen. Brisket is a very irregular piece. I mean, look at how much fat I'm able to. Imagine that being liquid and floating around in your braise. There's this big flat muscle that runs from front to back. And look here, you see how those strands are literally going north and south? And then you can see here, this big fatty marbled nose or horn. Those strands are going east to west, which is why once it's cooked, I'm gonna cut that whole thing off and slice it in a different direction. So the next thing we want to do is season our brisket, because we already let it come to room temperature, which is really important so that when we brown it and get it into liquid, it's cooking right away. First thing, sprinkle it with salt, oregano, cumin, little chili powder. I'm gonna rub this, really massage this into the meat. It makes a big difference. I've preheated this big griddle here. I just want these to get a little glassy before this baby goes right on top of that. Beef stew. I really don't want any exterior fat. So I'm using a long slicing knife to feather against where I know the meat to be. I just use a 5-inch Honosuke, just a Japanese utility knife, and it's perfect for dragging the tip across, just sort of an all-purpose kitchen knife. I'm just making 1-inch by 1-inch squares. Here I have 2 pounds of meat that I can put into the freezer. Deal with that later. I want to bring this whole thing to a simmer. To cover or not to cover? The answer is neither. We tent it. It allows evaporation of the liquid, but it keeps the heat underneath there, and it just returns condensation onto the top of it. So I'll let it go for about 5 hours, and then we'll check it and see how tender it is. I preheated my oven at 350 degrees, because I know when I open it, heat's gonna leave there. And I've lowered it to 325. Brisket perfection. I've got some of the braised onions. I'm gonna season those with my Mexican seasoning. I love this stuff. We worked really hard making these blends. While I'm cutting this, I'm gonna take these bolillo. It's a great Mexican sandwich bread. I'm just gonna put these in the oven for a couple minutes. This top muscle goes east to west. You can see the grain. And you can see here that the flat, which is the muscle on the bottom of the brisket, goes north to south. So typically what I do is I just take this piece right off. I can take this fat that's in between those two muscles and just put it to the side. And so here we have the flat of our brisket, and I want to cut the brisket against the grain. And here is perfect brisket. Mouth tender. Look at how beautifully this knife powers through that brisket. This is a brisket slicer, but I use this to cut and carve any roast, boneless legs of lamb, prime rib. It is literally the best meat slicer that I know of on the market. It is a stunner. Let me just show you two random slices here. Notice the difference? This was the top of the brisket. And remember, I trimmed it, but I said I didn't want to take off all the fat because I like this bark and I like that little bit of fat in between. Then we have the lean. That's perfect, right? Everyone's favorite all-purpose utility knife. Let's go with the beef. Pickled onions, those braised onions loaded with all of that beef juice. It's like a Mexican banh mi. Some queso Oaxaca, some of that tamarind salsa. Soft, pillowy, stunning sandwiches. And the brisket, that muscle is perfect. Flat is perfect, moist, beefy. Sweet and sour, tangy and fruity, rich with dairy, herbal and green, vegetal and aromatic, pliant and sweet, rich and beefy on the perfect bun. I mean, my goodness. That is a delicious torta. A classic cheesesteak. I love them. And I love them Philly style. Shaved, paper-thin pieces of beef tossed with your choice, onions, mushrooms, peppers, put on a toasted, seeded roll, and of course, plenty of whiz, right? I like it with. My favorite place in Philly to get one is John's Roast Pork. Okay, that's out of the way. But one of the things I like to do at home is to deconstruct it in the sense that I'm still using all the same ingredients. I'm just cooking each ingredient separately. So I have 3 pans preheating here. 2 of them are gonna be for my veg, and it's important that they preheat. When I'm searing things like peppers, I wanna make sure I get a hard sear, but at the same time, I also wanna make sure that I don't overcook them. I want them wilted. Still wanna get a little crunch from that fresh pepper flavor. And by the way, as you can see, I'm using an 8-inch narukami, which is a chef's knife. It comes in really handy for slicing, push cutting, because my entire hand fits underneath the apogee of the blade. Simple push cut, not too thick, not too thin. This pepper was long. I'm gonna go at an angle. Got my peppers there. Mushrooms, take a little piece off, then rest it on that cut, right? That way it's flat, and you can just use a very simple, safe method, and the knife is never leaving my knuckles. I am literally feeling the knife the entire time. Let's get a hard sear on those peppers. Let's get a hard sear on those mushrooms. Little oregano. So now that I've got that kind of searing action on each one, I am good to go. They're still a little bit crunchy. See how I'm getting that nice sear on that mushroom? A little more oil in my pan. I don't need this to be too thin. 1/4 inch. there are my sauteed mushrooms. Onions, I want them to get nice and sweet and caramelized. Won't take very long. Are you wondering where my beef is? It's in the freezer. So why do you ask, is my meat in the freezer? Well, I'm using a rolled, boneless, tied prime rib of beef, the ribeye, right? And I want to slice it really, really thin. So if it's a little bit frozen, like you let it sit in there for a half hour, 45 minutes, and I use one of Shun's brisket knives, I can actually get long, thin slices. So here we go. Now, the fact that the exterior is frozen, but the interior is soft, means that I can slice this super, super thin. Turn the other side around. Those are the most frozen parts, right? Because it's thawing and coming to temperature really, really fast. I have about a pound, maybe pound and a third slice here, plenty for my sandwich. I now have about a pound and 3/4 left. This is perfect for 2 or 3 people for a beautiful prime rib dinner. This is Shun's classic utility knife. And I love the classic utility knife because it does just about everything. Don't let those soft little kitty serrations fool you. It is sharp as a razor. And I like to take the end off. Look at how that just glides through bread, right? And I can go right down the middle of this. And because of its blunt nose, I can use it as a sandwich spreader. I love minced Calabrian chili peppers. The next thing, just a little bit of oil. And then we have all of these really thin slices of ribeye, pepper. I start playing with it when I see some of the pieces sear all the way through, right? Everything on the bottom is gonna look like that. That looks pretty good to me. Brown is the color of flavor, my friends. Never forget it. And so now I'm gonna start flipping some of these. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's just beautiful. Peppers, onions, mushrooms. Lots of beef ribeye. Provolone and American. And this just goes right under the broiler. Bingo, bango, boongo. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, baby. This sandwich does not go on a plate. This sandwich deserves its own board. And look at this plow through that sandwich. That, my friends, is a steak and cheese sandwich. It's not a cheesesteak, but it sure does taste like one. I'm just gonna sit here and keep eating until both these halves are gone. Good night, everyone. And remember, all of our recipes, including the sub-recipes and lots of other cool, fun stuff, is always available at andrewzimmern.com. That, my friends, is the world's best sandwich. If you want a crispy pork tenderloin sandwich with coleslaw and a lemongrass and chili sambal, I'll show you how to make it. the cooled sambal with lemongrass chilies. This is how we do it in the Midwest. You want your pork tenderloin to hang over the bun. Teeny bun, big piece of tenderloin. And of course, because we're in the Midwest, everything gets topped with coleslaw. That, my friends, is the world's best sandwich. That is a fried chicken thigh. This is butter and Frank's hot sauce. This is a potato bun with blue cheese on it. A little celery, because we need a nice crunchy garnish. And that, my friends, is the simplest, most delicious version of a buffalo fried chicken sandwich that you will ever have. Hey everyone, welcome to AZ Cooks Instagram Live. I am Andrew Zimmern. Thank you to our fantastic sponsors, Florida Cognac Rum and the good people at Shun Cutlery. We are very, very grateful to Shun and to Florida Cognac. They're fantastic sponsors and we are very grateful. Welcome back to another week of recipes, hijinks, and your questions. I am feeling extremely ebullient, warm-hearted, kind, caring, and hopefully in full possession of my faculties today. It's a beautiful, cold, final Thursday in the month of January here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and we're thrilled that you could join us. So yeah, I mean, that's a fried chicken thigh that we brined in pickle juice and then dunked in butter and hot sauce. And of course, because I love the flavor of fried chicken dunked in hot sauce and butter, along with blue cheese and celery, traditional buffalo style chicken wing accompaniments, it's the simplest way to make a delicious fried chicken sandwich. So let me show you, sort of catch you up about how to do this for yourself. So people buy big jars of pickles, then they throw away the juice. If you're buying a lacto-fermented pickle, one that's just a natural salt brine, save that, you can reuse it. If you are buying a vinegar brined pickle, like these shelf-stable ones that are at the supermarket, by all means, save that pickle juice. Why? The brine can be used as a marinade. It can be used to make a salad dressing. It can be used for all kinds of really cool things. And when I get to the bottom, when I've eaten all the pickles and I have 2 cups of pickle juice sitting in that jar, I throw a bunch of chicken thighs into the brine and let them sit for 24 hours. You can see that the vinegar actually starts to turn the meat of the chicken opaque. And I dunk that chicken, because I brine for 24 hours, then I let it dry for 4 or 5 hours. And that's important because you don't want the fried chicken to shed its batter. And then it goes into, and yes, recipe is on the website at andrewzimmern.com, but it goes into buttermilk, in which I've had a beaten egg added to it. I've seasoned these with salt and celery seed, and you can throw that chicken right into 375 degree oil. The other thing that you can do after you've seasoned this with celery seed, dunked it into your buttermilk and egg, and then into your mixed starch. This is cornstarch, flour, and rice flour. I like the mixture. It makes for a really crunchy batter. Is that some people like to double dredge. My friends on the West Coast, Vinny DiTolo and John Shook, reminded me of the double dredge. They do that on their fried chicken sandwiches, and when I saw them do, I asked them what the secret was to their fried chicken sandwich, and they said pickle juice, which I already did on mine, and double dredge. So there's a double dredge, and it just puts a slightly thicker crust on your chicken, which some people love. And if you are doing a fried chicken sandwich, or let's say you're just eating them with knife and fork, and you're doing something buffalo style, or as you'll see in a couple minutes, Nashville hot, I would encourage you to try the double dredge. because that extra bit of crispy batter on the outside soaks up the sauce exponentially. Let me wash my hand. By the way, if you have flour and egg on your hand, do not wash in hot water. Wash in cold water. Hot water activates the gluten. You end up with a sticky mess. It can get in watches, in rings, all over the hair on your hand. Just cold water, okay? Just gonna flip these around to promote even cooking. Nashville hot chicken, created literally at Prince's in Nashville. Now a global hot fried chicken phenomenon. Many places lay claim to inventing a lot of different foods, and we all say to ourselves, well, did that really happen? Was such and such a dish really created at such and such a restaurant or at such and such a kitchen at such and such a time? Nashville Hot Kitchen was created at Prince's. So I add about 6 ounces of oil, hot frying oil, to a bowl. To that, I am going to add onion powder and garlic powder. I am going to add cayenne, smoked paprika. You can add regular paprika. I just like the smokiness of smoked paprika on my sandwich. And brown sugar that we kept under lock and key here so that it would really dissolve easily and wouldn't turn into a brick. And you just whisk this together and let the sugar dissolve in that hot oil. And you want this to be at least 150 degrees because you don't want to drop the temperature on your sandwich by dunking it in cold oil. It'll hold its temp. It'll be hot for a while. But the idea here with a real hot chicken sandwich just turning these again so I can show you the difference there. Grab a bun. And all I want to do is I want to take this chicken thigh and we're just going to rotate this around in there. Some people like a brush on there. I find as long as you're not making it too insanely spicy, you can just roll that chicken around, create that Nashville style hot chicken with the sugar, the cayenne, the smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder. And if you want to make it hotter, just add more cayenne pepper. You have to do it to your taste. I don't like to blow the mouth out of the people at my table who are dining with me. And with Nashville hot chicken, I tend to just go with pickles and white bread or pickles and a potato bun, right? Super, super simple. Now this oil and sugar and spices that are in there can be saved, and then you can heat this up later on. But usually, if you use 6-8 ounces, you'll have enough for 4 sandwiches or enough hot for 1 whole chicken, because maybe you're frying chicken on the bone. 6-8 ounces of oil, along with the spices, recipe on UnderServed.com, is enough for an entire frying chicken. 2 breasts, 2 legs, 2 thighs, 2 wings. Make sense? All right. Last chicken sandwich. This one is one of my favorites. This is hoisin sauce. I make this one, and by the way, you can use sweet wheat paste, which is a sweetened reduced soy product. For those of you who do a lot of Chinese cooking, you know what I'm talking about. It's available in Asian markets. It's available at Mala Market, ironically out of Nashville, but I get a lot of my product there. I'm just going to flip this over. You can see this chicken breast, single dredge, starting to get brown, and you can see it has a very light, crispy skin on it. This is the double dredge. It takes a little while longer. I have a special guest here tonight. Do you want Nashville hot, or do you want the regular hot? Nashville. All right. You want to come get it? This is what you get for waiting for your father to be done with work. I'm a good dad. I feed my child cold props from the set. He just said from the peanut gallery once a month. Yes, that is correct. We feed them once a month. But I don't make him do manual labor here, so please don't call the child labor board. So this chicken breast, I'm going to put right on this sliced cucumber, and I am going to season it with a little bit of Szechuan peppercorn. Usually I use whole cumin and toast and grind it, but we have some leftover ground cumin. And salt. And into the mortar and pestle it goes.
Are those cucumbers pickled?
The cucumbers are not, but you can lightly pickle them in sugar and white vinegar. 1 to 2 sugar to vinegar, or 2 to 1 vinegar to sugar. Do it for 6 hours, or you can do them in salt and chilies, but then a hefty sprinkle of that Szechuan cumin and salt. Because remember, you're not just seasoning the chicken, you're seasoning the whole sandwich, right? I'm going to take a taste of this baby and let you know how it is. Ooh. I mean, simple, beautiful. That is so crazy good. The pickle brine has kept the chicken itself super moist. The mixture of 3 different starches in here, recipe on the website, andrewzimmern.com, means that your chicken is going to be crunchy, crispy every single time. And the buttermilk and egg dredge, I mean, it works like a charm. I have to flip sides here, promote even cooking when we're doing shallow frying like this. Oh my gosh, this is really, really, really good. And the hoisin, the cucumber, and the herbs and spices, don't be afraid to really put that Szechuan peppercorn, cumin, and salt seasoning mix on there. It makes all the difference in the world.
How do you know when your chicken is done?
That is the most pertinent and best question ever. In the recipe on the website, I actually made a note to remind people that when you buy chicken thighs in the supermarket, sometimes what you get are 8 thighs to a pound, and they're all like really small and thin. And then sometimes you get like 4 to a pound where they're really big. So I try to make sure that if my chicken my chicken thighs, boneless, are relatively small, 3-4 ounces, they'll take about 7-8 minutes total cooking time. If they're larger, they'll take about 9-10 minutes cooking time. That is if they are room temperature. And I always let my chicken come to room temperature. Now you'll note that this chicken thigh I've let go for about 2 or 3 minutes longer than the one that I just bunned up on that sandwich. And that's because A, it was bigger, and B, it's been double dredged. So it's going to take longer for the heat to permeate that double dredging, get beyond that gorgeous brown crust that we want, and actually cook the meat. With a chicken thigh that's been brined, it's more forgiving. So you'd rather cook it an extra minute than a minute too little, right? So 7, 8 minutes for small ones, 9, 10 minutes for bigger ones. But if you want to go 9 and 11 minutes, you're not going to have a problem. It's a boneless chicken thigh that's been brined, so you're not going to dry it out. Even if you overcook it a little bit, it's going to be more forgiving than chicken breast meat, which is something I very rarely cook with anyway, for that reason.
What kind of oil are you using?
This is peanut oil. But I will fry in soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable oil. I try to avoid corn oil, safflower oil, lard. And by the way, Edna Lewis trick, and it's in the recipe for you on andrewzimmern.com. When I'm frying chicken at home, I will stick a couple pieces of bacon into the fry oil. And the reason that I will do that, how was that sandwich? Perfect. That's pretty good. So 16-year-olds like the Nashville hot. This is the butter and hot sauce, that traditional buffalo style. Again, we just stick that on there. Take some of this wonderful blue cheese. Oh, look at that. Give that a nice smear on top.
Have you tried Popeye's fried chicken sandwich?
Crunchy celery. Popeye's fried chicken sandwich is good. I have. I had it in an airport, actually, on my last trip in an airplane that actually was to Nashville, Tennessee. We were talking about something important. I was answering someone's question. What was it, Madeline? It was something important. Oh, well. I'm sure if it's that important, I will remember it.
The last question was about oil.
Oh, yes. The Edna Lewis always put 3 or 4 pieces of smoky bacon into her fry oil. And I think it was as much for the cook's treat of eating the bacon when it was done, but it lends the oil a smoky porcine quality that you really can tell the difference. I used to do that a lot. Edna wrote a couple of books when she was alive that were really important for cooks of my generation to read. And I was cooking about 3 years ago down in Kentucky with Michael Twitty. And he was using her technique. And it just makes such a difference. Such a difference. So throw a couple pieces of bacon into your lard or oil, no matter how you're frying, and you will find that your fried chicken takes on a quality of flavor and just a delicate smokiness that everyone is like, I can't put my finger on it, but that is really, really good.
What kind of bun are you using?
These are Martin's potato buns and traditional Hawaiian sweet hamburger buns from the good folks at King's Hawaiian. I happen to believe that with a spicy chicken, and all 3 of these are pickle brined spicy chicken preparations. So whether it's a traditional buffalo wing style, whether it's with Szechuan peppercorn seasoned salt, or whether it's Nashville hot style, we've done 3 different preparations. A bun and the ingredients that are on there need to complement something that's really spicy.
Why aren't you toasting your bun?
We usually toast our buns, and in the recipe, we call for it, but I ran in the door late coming back from the airport fetching my child. Hey, what can I say? Do as I say, not as I do.
Where will you be for the Super Bowl?
I will be in my seat at Raymond James Stadium. How about you?
For Super Bowl 55, please tune in. We have a couple special announcements, so I'm glad you asked. The first one is that on Thursday, the 4th of February, which is our next AZ Cooks, it is a very special home gating version of AZ Cooks. We are doing it in partnership with our friends at Quaroy Salmon. We're going to be doing 4 different versions of hot dogs and hamburgers, really special ones, giveaways, prizes. You'll be seeing a lot of announcements in my social about that, but you're going to want to tell all your friends to tune in because there's some really cool stuff going on. That's number 1. Number 2, Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, I believe it's 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. But again, information in my social. I will be doing Taste of the NFL live from right outside of Raymond James Stadium. So if you go to tasteofthenfl.com, you can purchase your ticket. All the money goes to hunger relief. It goes to Gen Youth's emergency school lunch program. And I cannot think of a better cause than feeding hungry children. I've been involved with Taste of the NFL, I think, for 11 years now, something like that. And I've been very lucky to be at the Super Bowl, I think 11 of the last 12 years. So this year is no different. I will be down there live outside the stadium in the morning with a special tailgate. Carla Hall will be co-hosting. Tim Love will be co-hosting, along with a whole bunch of other chefs. Jim Brown, JB from the NFL Today on CBS, is doing special chalk talks. One is with Derek Jeter, for example. I'm blanking on some of the other amazing athletes we have, but they are all of that caliber. And his chalk talks, Peyton Manning is also going to be doing a chalk talk with JB, talking about things like the mental aspect of getting ready for the big game, right? Doesn't matter what your sport is, right? There's a lot of mental preparation that goes into this. So this is a huge 2-hour show. Tasteofthenfl.com. Buy your tickets. Next week, Quaroy Salmon, the special home gating version of Instagram Live. So yeah, to answer your question, I will be standing, you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be like one of those kids in the 1930s. I'm going to shimmy up a tree, and I'm going to look into Raymond James Stadium and see if I can't watch some of the game.
Who are you rooting for?
This is very difficult because Madeline is the biggest Kansas City Chiefs fan I've ever seen. It's absurd. She rivals Rob Riggle in her love of the Kansas City Chiefs. And miraculously, and I don't know how she pulls it off, in the last 3 years of our fantasy football league that we run in our office, she always winds up with all the Chiefs players, including Pat Mahomes, on her squad. Yeah, I don't know how that happens, but it does. So I have to be rooting for the Chiefs, otherwise she'll throw something at me. What I'm mostly rooting for, because my teams are not in it, is a good game. And the last bunch of Super Bowls have been really, really great. So let's hope for another big game. I was kind of surprised that Tampa Bay beat Green Bay twice in a row, right? I mean, unbelievable, especially to do it in January at Lambeau. Unbelievable. So you can't count out TB12, right? But you've got the goat, and then you've got the baby goat going against each other. Should be a great game.
Will you shout out 5-year-old Piper, who watches you every week on I Do Live?
Piper, what's up, kiddo?
What did you eat for breakfast?
What did I have for breakfast this morning? 2 cigarettes and an old cup of coffee from the night before. No, I'm kidding. I actually had one of those Chobani Flip yogurts because I discovered it in the back of my refrigerator. Yeah, and a cup of coffee.
Can you reheat this chicken?
Yes, absolutely. But what I would suggest you do rather than reheat it is just let it come back to room temperature. There are 2 foods, really good steak and fried chicken, that I prefer to eat as a leftover at room temperature or cold than I do hot. I'm a cold fried chicken, picnic fried chicken person. That's how I grew up eating fried chicken. It was cooked in the morning and then it went with you somewhere and you ate it for lunch. So it was never hot. and really, really, really good beef. I mean, really good prime beef, grilled black and blue or, cool rare center, then let it rest or refrigerated and then let it come back to room temperature and slice it thin. I think the flavor of beef when it's prepared like that, I think it actually tastes better.
Have you ever tried frying chicken with almond flour?
No.
What about an air fryer?
No. I love air fryers. I love Instapots. I love all these. God bless. It's fantastic. And air fryers actually do really, really interesting things. I don't fry in an air fryer, but the one I have at home, I do high heat roasting in essence because it does really well with things that have sugary glazes on them. So, for example, the Nobu Matsuhisa recipe, where you marinate your black sea bass in miso and rice wine and sake lees and sake, and let it sit for 2 days and then take it out, brush the marinade off, and broil it. Does really well in an air fryer because it sort of caramelizes it 360. I look at an air fryer more as a 360 degree broiler than anything else. So what I would broil, I put into the air fryer and let that centrifugal heat do its work.
Like pizza rolls?
Well, pizza rolls are ideal for an air fryer. Now, we have discussed this, I believe, before, and we do have a video coming out we are so backed up on our videos. So many people sent us their hot sauces and their cool new stoves and their new immersion circulators and their cool new pretzels and their air fryers and pizza rolls. Thank you, Totino's. And the recommendation for the Totino's pizza roll, I voiced my frustration on Twitter, and the people at Totino's sent me an air fryer, and one of the gentlemen who was on their lead research team, culinary team, said air fry at a certain temperature for 6-7 minutes, then at a different temperature for 6-7 minutes, and they will be crispy golden brown and they will not explode. And so we're going to give that a go.
Can you use the same batter and sauces with seafood, shrimp, fish?
Try it. I would encourage you to try it with everything. Here's the issue. If you're putting hoisin, cucumber, and spicy Szechuan peppercorn salt on fish, I think it may be too much. I have taken fried fish and put that seasoned salt on it, along with like a wedge of fresh yuzu and some greens, and call it a meal, and been very, very happy. If you do like a monkfish, a really sturdy white flesh fish, and do it buffalo style, even with the cheese, you're going to love it. Salmon is delicious with blue cheese. We have a great salmon blue cheese broiled recipe on our website. And certainly the Nashville hot, go for it. Pork, chicken, whatever, just not beef. And by the way, it's really good with duck as well. One more question. Make it a good one. We're scrolling through.
Hold on, looking.
While Madeline is looking, I will remind you, information in our social and on our website at andrewzimmern.com for next Thursday's special home gating version of Instagram Live, as well as information on the event that I'm doing for tasteofthenfl.com. Go to tasteofthenfl.com, buy your tickets, get your meal box, cook along with Tim Love, Carla Hall, and I, all for a great cause. First 5,000 people who buy a ticket get a special box, including a game day program and lots of goodies from our partners at PepsiCo.
How about, do you recycle your frying oil?
I do recycle my frying oil. As a matter of fact, I would lead you back into the kitchen and show you. But what we do right here is I turn this off, and I don't know if you could see that, but that light ring at the bottom is actually flour solids that have dropped to the bottom. So what we will do is we will pour this using a funnel and a filter, and pour it in, and then put it into a bottle, can, jar, and just put it in the fridge. And we label it. If you fry shrimp, let's say you love to fry shrimp, I'll do 4 or 5 batches of fried shrimp in the same oil, and then I have really shrimpy tasting oil, and then I'll take a couple tablespoons of that, and I'll use that to make a salad dressing for a fish or shellfish salad, and it actually tastes shrimpy. I know. I love you people. To my friends and fans that have sent me notes today on Instagram, Twitter, slid into my DMs, whatever, and shared their best wishes, congratulating me on my sobriety anniversary. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have read them all. It's just too many to get to. I promise to read the rest of them. They're really, really important to me. It's an incredible blessing, and I'm really humbled and grateful that I'm sober for just another day today. AndrewZimmern.com and our social media, at Andrew Zimmern on Twitter, Andrew Zimmern on Facebook, at Chef AZ on Instagram. More information about next week's home gating and next Sunday's big Super Bowl event at tasteofthenfl.com. We will see you next week. What's up, people? Andrew Zimmern here, bringing you probably, well, I mean, is it the all-time #1 comfort food? I don't know. I mean, roast chicken's right up there. And obviously it depends what home you grew up in, what culture, where on planet Earth. But for so many people, when you say the word comfort food, one of the first things they write down is a perfect grilled cheese sandwich and a great bowl of cream of tomato soup with lots of dunking and slurping and eating. The two of them go together like Laurel and Hardy, like Prince and Purple Rain, right? So I'm going to show you how to make what I think is a very simple, straightforward, beautiful cream of tomato soup, and what I have always nicknamed the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich. Why is it the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich? Super crispy. It's got a twist on it that's going to blow your, well, actually 2 twists or hacks that are going to blow your mind. It's crunchy, it's cheesy, and it still uses Kraft American singles. And I'm sorry, if you don't have American cheese singles on your grilled cheese sandwich, it's a different thing. I make upscaled adult versions just like, you know, the next person, but I have to make sure that at least a couple times a year I'm getting my Kraft American cheese grilled cheese sandwich, and every time I have one, I'm reminded that makes the best grilled cheese sandwich. So I have a small soup pot here. I'm going to put in a little olive oil, not too much. I'm not trying to emulsify olive oil into this soup the way I would with a marinara sauce or some other pasta sauce. You don't need to preheat your pan for this. I just get the heat up to medium. I add some minced shallots in there. I think they have much better flavor than onions. I add some salt right away. I want that to pull the juices out of those shallots. I have some really thinly sliced garlic. I put that in there. The one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want this garlic and shallot mixture to start to brown. And I can control that, because the moment I see it start to get color or get glassy, I can turn the temperature down, I can push the soup off the burner. Remember, you have a lot of choices as a human being. And if it's the right time, I can always just add my liquid, my wine, the first liquid that goes in this recipe, and it will instantaneously stop frying in the oil, right? So you really have a lot more control. Seasonings. I don't want, I mean, this is cream of tomato soup. I mean, I want a 1-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 28-year-old, and a 68-year-old all to get pleasure from this. And in some of those categories, that means no green things. I'm also trying to be chefy, but not too chefy. So I know I want thyme, rosemary, and bay leaf flavor in this soup. So I've got some fresh bay leaves, a couple of stems of thyme that I'm putting like a sandwich around the bay leaves. The bay leaves are the meat, the bread is the thyme, and these rosemary stems are big. I just need one to be really, really aromatic there. I'm gonna hold that together. And then I'm gonna take a sprig of basil, because I want that basil flavor in there too. And I'm going to marry all that together and sort of fold the leaves around and just hold on to it like a little package. You know, if I drop this in all those thyme leaves, rosemary leaves, the green stuff goes everywhere. So I grab my kitchen string, and you just need about a 18-inch length, and you place it, I don't know, 2-3 inches, draping over the top of the bouquet garni. Now what I usually like to do is I just take this and I always put it through my finger, right? And then I just wrap this around and I just keep going, going, going. And now you see why I held on to that one little piece, because now I have two identical lengths coming off here. I didn't get anything crossed up. Tie that in a nice knot. I'm listening to that. I mean, remember, we cook with our ears as well as all of our other senses. And you can look in there and see my onions, shallots, garlic, getting glassy. I'm going to use this like a little paintbrush. Oh yeah, now I can see all of it. And for sure, those are glassy. So, what do we want to put in there? Well, the first thing that I want to put in there is my wine. I just have a half cup. Again, I'm not making a tomato sauce. I'm not making, some fancy pants dish. I'm making cream of tomato soup. But what the wine does is the wine pulls flavors out of the garlic and the shallots and the herbs, and then also the tomatoes that are about to go in there. The alcohol in there actually performs a very valuable scientific duty. So I'm putting my black pepper in there. I've already put my salt to draw moisture from the shallots and garlic, and it's already starting to simmer. So while that is simmering, let me grab my roasted tomatoes out of the oven. Now, these are the last farmer's market tomatoes of the year. I'm not doing oven-dried tomatoes where I put them at 200 degrees overnight. I'm just trying to concentrate the flavor of those awesome late summer, early fall tomatoes that are still in our supermarkets, right? So we just quartered them. We had some Romas. We had some smaller ones that we cut in half, some in quarters. You can see some of these big chunks. All of those juices have just concentrated inside there. The smell of these tomatoes is absolutely bonkers. And more importantly, the flavor is incomparable. When you oven roast something, all those liquids and sugars and acids multiply in quality. And I'm just going to tip the last of that liquid in there. So everything that was on my silpat, the tomatoes and the juices, are now in my soup. I'm now going to add my tomato puree. Now, some people, all summer long as their tomatoes are coming out of their garden or farmer's market, will make their own tomato puree. They'll put their tomatoes through a food mill after slipping the skins off, leave the seeds behind, and actually cook their tomatoes down into what is called tomato puree in your supermarket aisle. You can buy a can of it if you want. You can use your own if you want. This is not tomato paste. If you kept drying it, eventually it would become tomato paste, but this is just tomato puree. So I have intense tomato flavor in here. This recipe is so simple. And then once that warms up, and you can see here I'm starting to get a couple of bubbles. I don't want to simmer this for too long. It's just going to splatter tomatoes all over the place. I put in my stock. I have 4 cups of chicken stock, homemade chicken stock. You can see all the cloudy bits at the bottom. And all I want to do is give that a stir. And this has to cook. It depends on how wide your pot is, how high and narrow it is. I'm not sure there are soup pots that are any narrower than this. I mean, that would have to be like a stovepipe hat of a soup pot, right? But you never know what people are cooking with. If you're cooking with a really wide rondeau, you're going to evaporate all that liquid really, really fast. And that's why for this recipe, I have always recommended sort of keeping an eye on it if you're not going to cover it. Sometimes I'll cover it for 35, 40 minutes, then uncover it and reduce. The longer you cook tomatoes, the darker they're going to get, the more sugars are going to come out. So for many people who love to make tomato sauces for pasta, they want to make sure not to cook anything past 20, 30 minutes, right? Because they still want all the acidity. Here, because I'm making cream of tomato soup, I'm actually looking for those sugars to come out. So I don't know where my lid is, but this is my grilled cheese pan. So I'm just going to put that on top, and I'm going to lower the heat because I don't want it boiling. I want it simmering. And we're going to let that cook for anywhere between 50 to 110 minutes. That's and 50 and 70 minutes. Can't talk today. So anywhere between 50 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes. I'll check it after 50. I am going to add 2 more cups of liquid to that intense tomato soup that's in there. We're going to puree this as well. So I don't need to worry. I just don't want it. I want that liquid to still be in there, but I want the tomatoes to have broken up, right? And I want to have that nice body that cream of tomato soup has, you know, where it's like thick paint, but you can still get big spoonfuls of it. By the way, recipe, while that's coming to a simmer, recipe on my website for the Parmesan cheese toasties that go with this. You take real Parmesan cheese and you put it in a pan and you cook it like you're making a frico, right? And then you put all your toasted croutons on top of that. And so every crouton, every single one has Parmesan cheese on it. See the way that is? So when it goes into your soup, Parmesan cheese, like all cheese, has incredible umami. Parmesan cheese has more because it's a dry cheese, like aged Gouda. So yes, Parmesan cheese has more umami than ricotta cheese, which is a fresh cheese. So I'm just breaking this recipe for these Parmesan cheese toasties. Even a video is on my website, andrewzimmern.com. So you can watch me make these in another video. Super, super easy. If you've ever made a frico or made Parmesan cheese tuiles, you'll know what these are. Sometimes I like to warm these in the oven right before I serve them. You can freeze these and bring them back in an oven, but those little cheese toasties are going to add another layer of dippability awesomeness to this soup. Because we love dipping the grilled cheese in there because the bread, that toasted bread flavor with tomato soup is so good. So we're going to amplify that by having a second toasted bread item. And I can see here Madeline's very upset that I don't have a lid on hand. Thank you, Madeline. So we're just going to put that lid on there. I happen to like pots like this that have a glass lid. And I recommend them for people, if you're looking at pots, and all things being equal, this KitchenAid pot that's a 7-quart soup pot, this is a very standard size, right? Small, but 7 quarts. So this is a 7-quart soup pot. I like to cook soups without getting halfway above them. So, you know, we had 4 cups of liquid. We're adding another 2 cups of liquid. We had those 5 pounds of tomatoes. We had the tomato puree. That makes up about 3.5, 4 quarts at most if everything went in at the same time. But I do only like using half the size of the pot when I'm cooking so that I can stir properly. I'm not overcrowding the pot. But I also like brands that offer a clear lid. Also, this is a KitchenAid pot, and this is its matching lid. But so many of these pans and pots all have the same diameters. So sometimes at garage sales and stuff, you'll find glass lids, and they'll fit just fine. I just like it, especially for soups where we're trying to keep an eye on that kind of thing. So we're going to let this go. We're going to take out the bouquet garni. We're going to puree it, cream it, cook it, and while it's finishing its last stages, I am going to show you how to take conventional sandwich bread, Parmesan cheese, American singles, and mayonnaise, and make what I think is the ultimate, oh well, spoiler alert, the ultimate grilled cheese, and it involves these slices of oven-dried tomatoes. Soup's perfect. It's cooked for a while. I'm going to use this actually to make sure my bouquet garni, look at how that shrunk. All of that incredible basil, bay, rosemary, and thyme flavor is in the soup. It has done its job. The lid, we don't need anymore. This is our immersion blender. This is a battery-powered one. And all I'm going to do, move this up and down and puree those roasted tomatoes, because that's really, I mean, yeah, sure, the shallots and garlic are in there, but it's just the roasted tomatoes. Now, some people stop right here because they want chunks of those roasted tomatoes. What I have found is that when I lift up and actually look around in there, even when an immersion wand just isn't a blender, right? So there's always going to be nice texture to it. So I just stop when I see the color get lighter. Do you see how the color's getting lighter? That's because air is in there. And when air is in there, we've pureed enough, sufficient for the liquid to hold air. Put that in the sink, and obviously I will attend to that later. This is our opportunity to season. I like black pepper. It's my opportunity to season. I like salt. Cream. We're making a cream of tomato soup. I have added 2 cups of cream. And give it a stir. I have let my cream come to room temperature. Why is that important? I maintain my thermal momentum. And this will start simmering. You want to cook your cream for anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes here. And now is the most important part. We added our salt, we added our pepper, we pureed, we took out the bouquet garni. This is going to simmer. It's going to cook for a couple minutes more, but now is the time to taste this. And no, throwing in a little bit of vodka and tossing it in some noodles doesn't make it penne alla vodka. That's really good. Okay. Let that come to a simmer. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to switch positions here. We're going to put that over there and let it come to a simmer. I'm going to make my ultimate grilled cheese over here. Bring that up to medium. Use that ladle there. Put this in our sink. Okay, so grab a couple slices of white sandwich bread. 2 slices of American cheese. If you have bigger bread, use 3. These are the oven-dried tomato slices. One of my problems with so many grilled cheese sandwiches is that I want lots of tomato flavor with them. But the problem is that you're biting into slices of tomato that just warm through, and it just gushes tomato juice all over the place. It makes your bread soggy. I can put 4 slices of tomato on this sandwich. 5, 6, 7, if I want to, just so I have a nice tomato layer. Boom. What makes, let me get a offset spatula. There's a lot of, look, I do I do my grilled cheese with butter all the time, but I will say, when I remember to do it with mayonnaise, it's a crispier, shinier, firmer edge. And it does wonders. It does absolute wonders for my sandwich when I add my Parmesan cheese. I put that down. Take this off, do the other side. Not much, just, you know, just like we were buttering it, just enough to make it nice and shiny and beautiful. All right, so we put mayonnaise on there. Our soup is ready. Our Parmesan toasties with all those little bits of frico are on there. So I used to make this for my tomato soup, and then my kid would want grilled cheese with it. And I started thinking to myself, well, what could really make this fun? So we're gonna do a combo platter once this is ready to be. Let's see if I have a spatula. Somewhere in here I have to have a metal spatula. This is, oh, look at this. I've got the one my grandmother used to have. So you want this to cook at medium. You don't want your bread to burn before the cheese has had a chance to melt, right? But one of the things that does help is a little bit of pressure. And you already have mayonnaise in the bread. Don't worry about pushing that down. Why am I doing that? Because when I smell the bread toasting, I know it's time to flip it. I'm going to get it crisp on both sides. The cheese will melt and adhere and everything will stick together. Then I'm going to spread a little bit of Parmesan cheese and we're going to do a little frico action on it so it looks really stunning on the plate and delicious with this soup. By the way, conventional tomato slices, oven dried like this, put them in the refrigerator, toss them in a salad, use them in pasta, put them on a sandwich. Essentially, they're just leathery dried tomatoes and they're concentrated in flavor. So it's like a slice of tomato with a sledgehammer attached to it. Sweet, acidic, beautiful. And cooking them like that for an hour or two in a hot oven or 7-8 hours in a slow oven, 200, 225, either way works, concentrates all those sugars so they really taste like tomato candy. Now we can toss this a couple of different times, but you'll smell when it's perfect. You'll smell it. And I mean, come on, I mean that's grilled cheese awesomeness. And you can start to see the cheese melting there. We'll get more melting as the second side toasts. And then of course, we're gonna have another minute in the pan when we let the frico adhere to it. Frico is just a fancy word for melted, somewhat burnt cheese. I'm just gonna keep stirring my soup. I've got a little minced parsley at the end because we're serving this to adults to bring back the joy of being a child. If I was serving this to my child, I would not let him know that I was going to sprinkle, and then I would stop myself at the last minute from doing it because I'd be like, I'm just gonna get into a thing with him. Because he's gonna be, I don't want the parsley. You eat parsley all the time, you love it, salsa verde, blah, 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 blah. He's just like, not in my tomato soup. He's kind of right. Now you can see that very last push, I actually could feel it stay down because the cheese is really starting to melt. So let's just check the other side. Still not as good as the top one. So we'll just keep that going. This is so much fun. Is there anything better than making a grilled cheese sandwich?
I don't think so.
Why, thank you, Emily. I agree.
Cool. I
Good.
love discourse.
It is. It's almost Socratic. Bread, along with cheese and tomato crisped in a pan equals human pleasure. Quite. Okay, now, 30 seconds later, almost the same color. So what I want to do is I'm just going to take this out for a second, and I'm just going to do a thin coating of parm on that. And when it all melts, and I see it's going to adhere to something, so now the cheese is starting to stick. Now, when I remove this, am I going to get this huge, crazy, outlandish thing? No. But it is going to look pretty darn cool and taste delicious. And it replaces salt. So here's my tomato soup. Put some of that in this bowl. We'll add some of our little cheese toasties to that. And let's make sure that the last one that we put on top shows off some of our Parmesan cheese and a little bit of herb. All right, so can you guys see the frico that has developed here? Look at that. And if you hold it while it cools, it'll actually stay like that. You know, am I on TikTok?
Yes.
I am on TikTok. So technically with this, I could break the internet. Technically, but it would have to be, I mean, people would have to like it.
I think people will like it.
I think people like it too. Thank you, Emily. You're so supportive of me when I'm putting myself out there.
I will support
And
you
being-
anytime you're making grilled
and being vulnerable.
This is Emily's grilled.
That's why you're so nice today. There's vegetarian food. I knew it. There had to be a reason. You know, Emily, I like you anyway. So what you have to do is just be very careful. Use a very, very sharp knife. You are obligated to cut grilled cheese sandwiches in half. You will never be able to cut with a knife a Parmesan frico that's that thin. No one can do it. I've never not had pieces break off. However, those are then little pieces that you can put as garnish on the cheese. But look at that incredible grilled cheese sandwich. We're gonna push that off to the side because, you know, if you're having soup and sandwich, do we wanna do something like that? I think we do. I think we want people to see our handiwork, right? That is the perfect grilled cheese sandwich, the ultimate grilled cheese sandwich. Salty, crusty frico on the outside, crusty bread, crisp perfectly with mayonnaise, American singles, and oven-dried tomatoes, cream of tomato soup with the secondary Parmesan toasties, as I like to call them. Many recipes for all the elements are on our website. Obviously, this video will be there and on YouTube. Please subscribe. We're almost at 1 million followers on Instagram. Tell all your friends about us. We'd love to hit that milestone before the next week or two is out. Enjoy this. You're going to love it.